questions of what they've got coming back from last year. And another guy he mentioned that obviously is a very interesting player is Justin Jones, who's a 6'8", 260-pound wide receiver / tight end hybrid they've got. And he played in only 3 games last year, only caught 6 balls, but 4 of them for touchdowns. So he's obviously going to be a red zone threat. He is he's a very physical guy, and I think if he's playing on the inside and it's in a red zone situation, it's entirely possible that he might end up being matched up with the linebacker, possibly a guy like a Deuce Robinson, who at 6'5", 250 is big and physical enough to match up with him. And while he's got that size and athletic ability, he's used to being a defensive lineman. He's not used to having to drop back and pass coverage very much. And so if he gets matched up with him, that'll be a very interesting matchup. If not, then we're going to have to see how our secondary can contain him in the end zone. They have the opportunity to just throw that ball up there, because if he's going against anybody in our secondary, even though we actually do have pretty good size in our secondary relative to normal sized wide receivers, and a guy's 6'8", anyone's going to be giving up 6-7 inches to him. So that'll be very interesting as well to see how much they target him if they get in close.
Right, and I just want to say that 6'8", and I could guard that. That's easy. No, I'm just kidding. He's definitely gonna pose some problems for us with the mismatches. There's no doubt about it. And the other thing that I noticed is actually their starting safety, Damon Magazu, he's actually the brother of a former App wide receiver, Dominic Magazu. So there's also another connection there. There seems to be a lot of connections between the teams, between former coaches being on ECU and that sort of thing. And like I mentioned in the interview with Steven, we are very similar in regards to the defense we play, the changes in positions, coming from a D-line to an outside linebacker, for instance. So we're a very similar team, and I'm really excited to see how it unfolds. Steve and I go again. I can't thank you enough for coming on. That was awesome to get that insight. And I mean, he basically did all the work for us, so we don't really have to do a whole lot this week. So that helped too. So with it being game week, and this being our very first episode on a game week, we're going to start a new tradition here. At the end of every episode on a game week, we'll each give our predictions. Now, obviously, we're seeing the teams through a black and gold lens, but we'll try to give an unbiased prediction every week. And I guess I'll go ahead and start it off for this week. Believe it or not, I actually think it's going to be a defensive battle and stay relatively low scoring. It's not going to be App of old against like Michigan per se, where you're scoring all the time. But and exactly what Steven said, if we can cause some turnovers and or hit the inexperienced Rio Johnson early and often and shatter his confidence, I really do see App winning this in a close one, 24-21. But again, that's a very big if. And the thing that I'm kind of hesitant on is our offensive line is young, where we got a new offensive line coach in, changing blocking schemes, although we've heard great things about Dwayne Ledford. A change in the scheme and a young offensive line that's going to cause some problems early in the season. So if we don't provide the holes needed to get the running game open, and then that would obviously open up the passing game with our talented and speedy receivers that we talked to Coach Stepp about. If we don't do that, I see ECU winning by at least 2 touchdowns. Their depth, the extra 23 scholarships they have, is definitely or ultimately what's going to hurt us in the heat. So that said, my official prediction is 28-14. ECU takes another victory in Greenville, but it's going to be a hard-fought battle, and I think it's going to be a close game all the way throughout. What about you, Mike?
Well, obviously several of the matchups you pointed out, we've already talked about are pretty spot on. I do think that, obviously as we've all said, it's gonna come down to who is, who's able to win that battle up front and how well we're able to really get our running game going. If we are able to get that, then I think we've got a great chance to hang in this game, make this close, possibly, get out of there with a victory. I think we're going to learn a lot about this team. We're a young team. We're going to go into a stadium packed with 50,000 people and see how they react to a lot of guys that haven't had much playing time up to this point. And I am, I think that if we execute very crisply, we're able to force some mistakes out of East Carolina, and we could definitely get out of this game with a victory. My official prediction, I'm going to go with 31-20 East Carolina. I think that it's going to be a very close game throughout. I think that it's going to be hard fought. I think we're really going to make them sweat. We're going to make them work for it, and it's entirely possible we'll be there at the very end of the game with a chance to win this thing. I just think that the inexperience on our offensive line, and as well as after Demetrius McCray and Troy Sanders, a lot of inexperience in our secondary as well is what will eventually kind of end up being the difference. Now, there obviously are some things working in our advantage. I think we have an advantage in two key areas in this game. One, we've got an established starter. We have experience at the quarterback position. Jamal Jackson looks great, and I truly think we're going to bring the best quarterback onto the field on Saturday. I think we're going to have advantage in that, and when you've got the best quarterback on the field, I think you've always got a chance to win, and I think we definitely do. And I think that from the wide receiver standpoint, they might be vulnerable in that secondary. They're young, they're inexperienced, so there are some areas we will be able to take advantage of. And then there's always the wild card. How do we do in the special teams? If we're able to pin them back and make them work with the long field all day, then it could definitely get interesting. And they're inexperienced as well, and all the pressure's on them to win. And if this is a 3-point game or a 6-point game going down to the wire, how are they going to react? They got 50,000 fans sitting there expecting them to win. And if it gets close and it gets down to the wire, we're going to learn a lot about them, too, if we make them work for it. So I think it's going to be 31-20 East Carolina. That's going to be my prediction. But I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be just a great time for all the App fans. And I'm a huge proponent of in-state rivalries. And I think that, as you mentioned, all the connections between East Carolina and the App team. That's great to see. You see that a lot in these in-state rivalry games, and I got a lot of respect for East Carolina for scheduling us, twice in the last 4 seasons, and I think it's going to be a great experience down there. And I really hope that one way or another we can keep this series going with them, because these are two of the only schools in North Carolina that are truly football-first schools, and I think it's just going to be a great experience for our fans and their fans, and I'm confident we'll bring more fans to that football game than they're going to have any other visiting team bring all year. So I'm really excited about this game, but unfortunately, unless we can really come out and play well, force them into some mistakes, and kind of get them out of their game, I think they will end up coming out on top. So hopefully I'm wrong. We'll find out on Saturday, but I'll be there no matter what, cheering them on. So that's my prediction, and thank you all for listening. Travel safe if you're heading to Greenville this weekend, and we'll catch you next week.
All right. Well, you hear the music playing. That is always the end of our show when that starts kicking off. So that's all for us tonight. Thanks again to Stephen Igo and Coach Stepp for coming on. We really appreciate it. And thank you guys for tuning in. And we hope you tune in next week, Tuesday, September 4th at 7:30 p.m. And we'll be giving a recap of the game we just talked about, the ECU game, and our thoughts on the Montana matchup, potentially the largest matchup for us in the regular season this year. So as always, you can find us online at appstatecentral.com, Facebook at facebook.com/appstatecentral, or on Twitter with the name @appstatecentral. So for my co-host Mike, I am Bryden. Thanks for tuning in to the appstatecentral.com weekly podcast. Let's beat the Pirates.